Breaking news, the United States will spend $7.5 billion to fight ISIS in 2017. That would be a 50% increase from this year. This as we are learning that the Pentagon is running low on smart bombs and missiles to fight ISIS. Joining me now, Major General Robert Scales and Christian Whiton. Apparently, General Scales asked Carter and the Obama administration saying they've exhausted just about all of these missiles. They need $1.8 billion just for 45,000 new missiles. It feels like there's a component of public relations there. But by the same token, how important is this that Congress approve it immediately?
Well, first of all, Charles, you also recall that today Mr. Carter said that our #1 enemy is probably going to be Russia. Look, if our industrial base can't make enough bombs for 15 to 17 sorties a day against ISIS, how in the world will we have an industrial base that's able to support 1,000 to 1,500 sorties a day against a war in Europe? And this is only the tip of the iceberg. No one's mentioned readiness, or no one's mentioned modernization. The Army hasn't had a new weapon system in over 30 years and won't for another 10 years. No, the whole defense infrastructure, Charles, is starved for modernization, readiness, and materiel, and this is only the tip of the iceberg.
I guess, Christian, this sort of puts on its head the Eisenhower military-industrial complex. To me, this is shocking that this request has to be made in the midst of this fight against ISIS.
Right, and of course it won't actually be acted on until December. It's a request for FY17, but Congress is going to do very little this year. They may do a defense authorization bill, which is the first part, but the second part, the actual appropriation, is going to get punted by the election. Congress just doesn't do a lot in election years. As the general said, procurement is broken. It used to be you could get an aircraft carrier for only $4 or $5 billion. The Gerald Ford, when she is completed, I believe this year, will have cost $13 billion, $3 billion over budget. We have a littoral combat ship. This is the newer ship in the U.S. Navy that the Pentagon itself told Congress is not combat survivable. So a completely broken system of our $500 billion a year defense thing. The flip side of this that's shocking is the amount of smart bombs that have been dropped on ISIS to no effect. ISIS has been stopped. It reached a point of natural exhaustion when it got through most of the Sunni parts of Syria and Iraq, but it's expanding elsewhere in Libya and Southeast Asia, etc. And this policy of just bombing them from drones really isn't working that well.
Well, then what would work? Because it just feels like, again, General, that we're grasping for straws here. It feels always like part of this is sort of for public consumption. But to your point, both of you guys, the point that you're making is that with authentic military strategy and a commitment, it's still not there.
Oh, absolutely, Charles. I mean, I get so many reports from my friends in uniform in the field that talk about broken equipment, that 2/3 of Army brigades don't have enough money to train to the level to be combat ready and deployable. You mentioned the whole bomb thing. Modernization is simply off the table for both the Army and the Marine Corps. For Pete's sake, Charles, the Army and Marine Corps can't even afford to purchase a new rifle. It's $700 a copy. Now, the defense systems we have today are so fragile and so frail that a big war over the horizon, I think, would probably bankrupt us.
So much for Russia being our top foe out there, not to mention, of course, China coming on strong. So Christian, where does this actually put us? Because if we're developing ships that won't even work in combat, and I guess that's part of the largesse people complain about, where are the priorities within Congress and particularly in the White House?
Well, there don't really seem to be any, because the whole, I believe, strategy of the Obama administration is not really to defeat threats that we face, but just to move them out of the inbox. And it's very concerning because, as Donald Rumsfeld said, he got in trouble for saying it, but it's absolutely true. You go to war with the military you have. It takes a long time to build up capabilities. That influences all of the rest of your statecraft. You know, we just are not prepared for a major conflict, for a major modern conflict with cyber war, right, with forests being projected into Asia and Europe.
All right, guys, leave it there. Again, one of our favorite generals and one of our favorite foreign policy / military experts. Thanks a lot, guys.